Hello, my name is Gary D. Long II, and today we are going to be talking about the first century Jewish culture, specifically the temple, the Sanhedrin, and the synagogue. Now, let's go back to the first temple built by Solomon. God originally wanted King David to build the house of the Lord. However, God decided to have King David's son Solomon build it because King David had shed blood. Now, Solomon's temple was destroyed by the Babylonians in about 586 BC, although Ezra rebuilt the temple following the exile. In about 20 BC, Herod the Great launched a monumental rebuilding program that promised to make the temple one of the greatest in the ancient world. It measured 360,000 square feet. In the northwest corner of the temple, however, Herod had built a fortress that was staffed with Roman auxiliary troops in fear that a revolt might be taken up against him. The temple was where the Passover, Pentecost, and the autumn festival of the tabernacle, or booths, were held. Its maintenance, sacrifice, and worship were taken care of by 24 priestly families, numbering over 7,000 priests, alongside 9,600 Levites. The Sanhedrin were a group of 70 elder men, both Sadducees and Pharisees alike, that formed a high council. This high council was led by the high priest, although the high priest was still a part of the 70. The Sanhedrin was based on the 70 elders that God had Moses assemble in the book of Numbers, chapter 11, verse 16. The Sanhedrin were both the judge and jury of that day and age. Although all 70 did not have to be present for all complaints. For example, theft or personal injury took about 3 judges. A lower court of 20 elders and the high priest heard more intermediate cases. The Sanhedrin were the ones who Jesus was taken in front of during his hearing. They were the ones that Paul was taken in front of when he was being prosecuted, and including Peter and the rest of the 12. They were brought before the Sanhedrin. Stephen was brought before the Sanhedrin before he was stoned. Now, the Sanhedrin were a mix of all sorts of different people: Pharisees, Sadducees. In a modern sense, it'd be like both Methodist and Baptist or Pentecost all coming together to form a judge and jury. Now, during the Babylonian exile, the Israelites had to rethink their worship strategies in the absence of the temple because it was destroyed. When the Jews returned to Jerusalem, they brought with them these assemblies. The ways they did it after the temple was destroyed. Now, despite the temple being rebuilt, public meetings that included personal study, discussion, and prayer continued. These synagogues might have been used for a civic issue discussion, religious debate, or prayer. A quorum, or a minimum, of 10 Jewish men could convene a synagogue meeting at any time. The synagogue was accessible to the average person, compared to the temple's far distance and formidable trials and rituals. In this sense, the synagogue decentralized or moved it from a more single location to a more open location. They did this by bringing opportunities for religious expression into the village. Now, in Mark chapter 6, verse 2, and Luke chapter 4, verse 15, Jesus himself taught in the synagogues, and it was here that he witnessed his fiercest debates with Pharisees and Sadducees. That's all the research I did on this subject, and I hope it helped you out. God bless.